Hello everyone, before the start of the video, I would like to request you all to like, subscribe, that's it, thank you, and enjoy. 21. At the Ghost King's night banquet, the pillars asked. Chapter 21. Ghost King's night banquet, the pillars asked. As the Hashira departed, the headquarters courtyard returned to tranquility. Arthur and Kagaya Ubuyashiki sat side by side, discussing the tumultuous events to come over steaming tea. Why did you choose to play the villain? I stayed not to discuss such trivial matters with you. Arthur picked up a piece of yokon with his fingertips and offered it to Fufu, who was beside him. Kagaya Ubuyashiki chuckled, then stopped pressing the matter, turning instead to another important issue. Miss Tamayo still has many reservations, and I will try to persuade her again. Arthur nodded understandingly. I can understand. Even if she is no longer under Muzan Kibutsuji's control, she is still a demon after all. Asking her to come to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters is indeed asking too much of her. Kagaya Ubuyashiki looked troubled, his voice tinged with worry. Be able to leave the Demon Slayer Corps during this next period. Will Miss Tamayo alone be enough time? Arthur rested his chin in his hand, pondering for a moment, then shook his head. Don't count on the human transformation drug and the aging drug. The cell-destroying and division-inhibiting drugs are still fine. Human transformation drug, aging drug, cell-destroying drug, division-inhibiting drug. These were all drugs Tamayo had meticulously researched to defeat Muzan Kibutsuji. Previously, she lacked blood samples from upper-ranked demons, so she couldn't make corresponding adjustments for Muzan Kibutsuji's situation. After Arthur obtained the blood of upper rank 3 during the Infinity Train battle, he entrusted a Kasugai Crow to deliver the sample to Tamayo for research. Unfortunately, time was short, and Tamayo alone would likely be hard-pressed to complete the fusion of all 4 drugs. Kagaya Ubuyashiki also understood this principle. He didn't still hold the ultimate trump card to restrain Muzan Kibutsuji. His worries would not be limited to this. Do you think Muzan Kibutsuji will really take the bait? Arthur picked up his teacup, blowing on the floating tea leaves. Probably. After all, what can be changed is called a flaw, not a weakness. You're very lucky. That cowardly Demon King is full of weaknesses. Yoshiwara Yukaku, Red Light District. Night fell, and the streets were as brightly lit as day, like a colorful ukiyo-e scroll. Dim yellow lanterns swayed in the alleys, but they illuminated no human figures. Only dead silence spread silently through the dark night. Muzan Kibutsuji, dressed in a white suit, walked unhurriedly down the street. Ah, don't come any closer. You guys, do you know who I am? A plump, pig-like imperial relative burst through a wooden door and fell onto the street. He screamed while retreating in terror. Soon, he saw Muzan Kibutsuji in the middle of the street and quickly pointed a finger, yelling sharply. You! Quickly carry me out of this cursed place. When we get back to Tokyo, I'll reward you handsomely. Before he could finish speaking, Muzan Kibutsuji's fingertips moved slightly, and a head was already separated from its body. To the Demon King, humans were merely inferior sustenance. Their wails and screams were nothing more than embellishments to the slaughter. Their prominent status made no difference. Dare to order him, the ultimate being, around. He deserved to die. Whoosh! A whooshing sound, and Kokoshibo, dressed in a luxurious purple robe, appeared behind Muzan Kibutsuji. He first used his 6 eyes to look at the clothes worn by the headless pig-like man, then spoke in a rather subtle tone. This fellow's identity is not simple. It's a pity not to capture him as a hostage. Muzan Kibutsuji casually tossed away the pig-like man's unseeing head and spoke indifferently. It doesn't matter. Anyway, those guys from the Demon Slayer Corps are all lunatics. They will definitely come. Kokoshibo did not refute Muzan Kibutsuji's words. Although he had a cooperative relationship with him, there was also a clear hierarchy. Therefore, one reminder was enough. Using the choosing the red light district, where Daki and Gyutaro had resided for 100 years, as the site for the blood feast, meant that the commoners, geishas, and high-ranking officials within were all trapped. Did the Demon Slayer Corps think that with a mere blue spider lily, they could lead Muzan Kibutsuji by the nose? They probably didn't expect to be outmaneuvered now. Muzan Kibutsuji looked up at the moon and transmitted a message with a frown. I hope you don't dawdle and fail to complete the mission after daybreak. The deathly silence in the red light district paused for a moment. Then, the next instant, even more shrill screams echoed from all directions. The Crimson King's dividing line. The Wisteria Mountain Forest, specifically opened by the Demon Slayer Corps. Arthur led the Hashira to an open area, looked around, and nodded with satisfaction. This place is good, spacious enough for you to do whatever you want. Tsunemi Shinazugawa, being the most impatient, was the first to ask. The location doesn't matter at all. Quickly tell us how to activate the transparent world. Uzui Tengen crossed his arms, huffing in dissatisfaction. How can it not matter? How can one cultivate splendid, ultimate techniques in such a crude place? Kyojuro Rengoku walked between the two, habitually playing the peacemaker. I believe Mr. Arthur's training method will not be easy, so let's quickly listen. Arthur's gaze swept over the Hashira. Seeing their focused expressions, he finally spoke, his tone as calm as ever. My process of comprehending the transparent world was also a matter of chance. If I had to say what the method is, it's breathing and movement. Breathing and movement? Everyone present practiced breathing techniques and sword skills, so they were somewhat confused by what Arthur emphasized. It's too troublesome to explain. Concentrate and observe my upcoming demonstration. Clang! The sword's clear ring, glinting with golden dust. A platinum longsword was already in his hand. His body sank slightly, each exhalation accompanied by the thunderous roar of his heartbeat, like a mountain collapsing, and a sea raging within him. Light Fang, Blazing Wing, Fierce Scale, Savage Tail, Roar. 5 sword techniques, each imbued with a different element, were performed, one by Arthur. Because he was deliberately demonstrating for the Hashira, he controlled his power and speed within the range that the naked eye could perceive. The Hashira held their breath, intently watching Arthur's every subtle movement, and gradually, their expressions became unprecedentedly solemn. Arthur's breathing technique was utterly bizarre. The Hashira could tell, just by observing with their naked eyes, that this was definitely not a breathing technique they could master. Even Mitsuri Kanroji, the love Hashira, whose muscle strength surpassed all other Hashira, would only end up exploding if she rashly attempted to imitate it. Watching Arthur, whose sword strikes were incredibly fierce yet whose breathing was as steady as a rock, Tsunemi Shinazugawa secretly clicked his tongue. This guy is indeed a monster. Mitsuri Kanroji lightly scratched her cheek, with a hint of lingering fear and helplessness. Ah ha ha ha! Although it's rude to describe Mr. Arthur this way, but... Sorry, I can't do it. Just subconsciously trying to imitate it for a moment, my heart felt an unbearable pain. Iguro Obanai said sternly, don't mess around. We are not on the same level as him. On the other side, Arthur stopped his movements and patiently explained. A thunderous roar in the ears, a churning sea in the mind, blood almost flowing backward, heart and lungs feeling as if they are tearing apart inch by inch. These are all normal states for me when practicing my breathing technique. Pour all your being into breathing, enduring, and transcending the limits of that pain. Until your mind transcends the shackles of your senses. At that moment, the transparent world will open on its own. Zéro, comment zéro. Vote. 22. Waves flowing in the dark. Chapter 22. Waves flowing in the dark. Wisteria Mountain Forest. Mist permeated the air. Tanjiro and others stood shirtless under a waterfall, letting the rushing water from above furiously crash down, impacting every inch of their skin. The early spring stream was bone-chillingly cold, Even though the Demon Slayer Corps members were already skilled in using breathing techniques to temper their bodies, only a handful could fully endure this waterfall trial. Chant! Chant! Tanjiro's consciousness was sinking, yet he muttered to himself, trying to rouse his spirit. But as he chanted, he suddenly realized that the familiar pig assault roar of his companion was missing from his ears. He stiffly turned his head to look. He saw Inosuke, wearing his wild boar mask, had already fainted, but his body still stood stubbornly in the water, swaying precariously. Tanjiro, sat, degree sodate. Inosuke? Yabai! Inosuke, pull yourself together, hey! Tanjiro frantically dragged Inosuke ashore and, after much effort, managed to revive him. After the waterfall trial, there were still more hardships waiting for them, like carrying logs and pushing boulders. However, at this moment, the Demon Slayer Corps members were already at their limit and could only rest for a while. They gathered together to prepare lunch, hoping to regain some strength. In front of the bonfire, Inosuke was tearing into a salt-grilled fish, his gaze occasionally darting towards the deeper parts of the wisteria forest. I don't know what kind of training those guys are doing. I need to catch up quickly and become stronger than all of them. Tanjiro, while carefully flipping the grilled fish, gently reminded him. Inosuke, you should show basic politeness to the Hashira-level swordsman. Of course I know that. Inosuke casually tossed aside the gnawed branch, a fishbone dangling from the corner of his mouth, his expression unexpectedly serious. Those guys are all stronger than me, especially the commander. Earlier at the Butterfly Mansion, just getting close to him made my whole body tingle as if being pricked by needles. Tanjiro nodded in agreement. Indeed, I also once smelled an extremely dangerous aura from Arthur. But that aura disappeared during the last mission. It's really strange. What's so strange about that? In the corner, Zenitsu silently gnawed on his grilled fish, tears welling up in his eyes, as he retorted sharply. You two! You never heard how terrifying that monster's heartbeat was. That heartbeat was both terrifying and oppressive. Just recalling it sends shivers down my spine. Tanjiro and Inosuke exchanged glances, both tilting their heads. They thought this guy probably had his old problem again and wanted to back out. Meanwhile, at the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, Arthur, having finished his training, came to visit Kagaya Ubuyashiki, but unexpectedly found a rare guest in the mansion. The visitor had a large, low bun, a pale complexion with only a hint of crimson on her lips, and wore a dark purple kimono with a subtle pattern, exuding a serene aura. Arthur's tone was slightly surprised. This is unexpected. Miss Tamayo actually agreed to set foot in the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. Tamayo gently shook her head. Mr. Arthur, please don't tease. Now is a critical moment to deal with Muzan Kibutsuji, and I would not miss such a good opportunity for anything. Arthur chuckled softly. Miss Tamayo, you misunderstand. I have no intention of teasing. On the contrary, I admire your courage. Kagaya Ubuyashiki raised his hand, gesturing for Arthur to sit, and gently took over the conversation. How is the special training progressing? Have Sanemi and the others caused you any trouble? Arthur casually sat cross-legged and spread his palms. How should I put it? It's 50-50. Everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps is incredibly talented. Previously, they just hadn't found the right method, but once they had a clear direction, their progress was remarkable. Arthur believed his words were already diplomatic enough, but Kagaya Ubuyashiki was so perceptive that he instantly understood the unspoken meaning. Low emotional intelligence, a bunch of weaklings. High emotional intelligence, there's a lot of room for improvement. Kagaya Ubuyashiki's brows furrowed with worry. 2 weeks have passed, and no Hashira has been able to activate the transparent world yet. He understood the feelings of everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps and their determination to slay demons. But if it were truly possible, he did not want to see his children lose their precious lives. No, one person succeeded. Arthur picked up a pastry and threw it into his mouth, then was gently patted by Fufu's paw, so he could only smile helplessly and take another piece to offer her. Jaume Himejima is indeed the eldest Hashira. His blindness instead made his mind more focused, and he understood the transparent world in just 2 weeks. Hearing that Jaume Himejima had succeeded, a trace of recollection flashed across Kagaya Ubuyashiki's face. It's Jaume. The remaining children, I'll have to trouble you to put in more effort. Arthur waved his hand casually and turned to look at Tamayo, who was waiting quietly at the side. Did you bring the previous experiment report? No, I arranged for Yushiro to bring the experimental equipment and set it up first. Shall we go now? As she spoke, Tamayo's eyes sparkled with excitement, her expression unable to hide her eagerness. Arthur frowned. I understand your eagerness to deal with Muzanka Butsuji, but haste makes waste. Don't get flustered. It's noon right now, and there are wisteria flowers everywhere here. Do you want me to hold an umbrella and carry you to the laboratory? Tamayo. No. Cough. Excuse me, I was too hasty. As night fell, a day of rigorous training concluded. The Demon Slayer Corps members, in groups of 3 to 5, set off on their way back, discussing what they had learned that day. A short-haired, thick-browed young man with a Magatama pendant around his neck, however, separated from the crowd and ventured alone into the distant shadows. Hey Kaigaku, the dormitory is this way. Don't mind him. He's a swordsman of the same rank as us, but he always has a sour face. What's he so proud of? That's not nice to say. He's a comrade from the same period, after all. You treat him as a comrade, but does he treat you as one? Let's go, back to rest. I'm almost dead from exhaustion today. The few Demon Slayer Corps members laughed as they walked away, and as night deepened, Kaigaku's figure completely merged into the dark depths of the wisteria forest. At the same time, Arthur and Tamayo were also moving swiftly through the mountain forest, as fast as phantoms. This was normal after all. Even the seemingly fragile Tamayo was a demon, and Arthur could even be called non-human. Not long after, the two arrived at the foot of the mountain. Arthur's eyebrows raised, and he suddenly stopped. Tamayo, preoccupied with the research in the laboratory, had no time to react and was about to bump into Arthur's back, but he pulled her back with one hand, embracing her. Before Tamayo could react, Arthur quickly raised a hand to cover her mouth, signaling for silence while nudging his chin towards 2 blurry figures in the distance. I've led the way as promised. Now it's time for you to fulfill your promise, isn't it? Of course, that lord likes people who know what's good for them. Drink it. Tamayo followed the sound and saw the figure in the distance consuming demon blood, and veins bulged on her forehead. The location of the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters has been exposed. Mr. Arthur, we. Tamayo turned back anxiously, but was horrified to find that Arthur beside her had vanished without a trace. 23. Traitors are executed. The stakes remain unchanged. Chapter 23. The traitor is executed. The same bargaining chip. With demon blood in his throat, Kaigaku curled up on the ground, convulsing violently. His skin instantly turned pale, his pupils became completely black, and sharp fangs and claws burst through his flesh. However, in a moment, the power of the demon blood subsided within him. Kaigaku stumbled to his feet, his face filled with unsuppressible ecstasy and the relief of surviving a great catastrophe. He succeeded. From the moment the Demon Slayer Corps declared a decisive battle with the Demon King, he had been planning day and night, and today, his wish was finally granted. Kaigaku truly couldn't understand what those fools in the Demon Slayer Corps were thinking. They couldn't even clear out ordinary demons causing chaos everywhere, yet they dared to challenge the Demon King? He would absolutely not do something as foolish as a moth flying into a flame. Living was more important than anything. Even if he became a demon, as long as he had one breath left, it was his victory. Just as Kaigaku was immersed in infinite fantasies about the future, a sharp sword light suddenly tore through the night sky. Arthur's sword sliced Kaigaku in half at the waist, and the blade didn't stop, turning to another demon shadow. Crack. A crisp cracking sound was particularly abrupt. Arthur looked down and saw that a ceramic pot at his feet had shattered into pieces. He raised an eyebrow. A pot? Blood demon art. Water prison pot. In an instant, thick, foul-smelling liquid poured down from above, covering an extremely large area, ready to engulf and encase Arthur entirely. Wind form. Roar. A tornado rose from the ground, swirling upwards, instantly scattering the viscous liquid. Arthur rode the wind straight up, locking on to the strangely shaped upper rank 5 Gyako from above. Blood demon art. Octopus pot hell. With a sinister grin, Gyako took out another dark ceramic pot and aimed it at Arthur. Several huge, slimy octopus tentacles suddenly shot out from the mouth of the pot, waving their suckers, trying to entangle and crush Arthur! It's either slime or tentacles. You really have a twisted taste. Rock form. Savage tail. Arthur's strength was far beyond what those tentacles could compare to. A streak of sword energy flashed like a bolt of silk, not only instantly severing all the octopus legs, but also once again shattering Gyoko's vessel hidden behind the tentacles. This time, Arthur didn't even look at the shattered ceramic pot again. His figure turned into an afterimage, rushing straight towards the depths of the mountain forest. As daylight broke, a thunderous strike followed closely. Gyako's true body, covered in fish scales and dragging a fish tail, spewed blood from his mouth and flew backward in a sorry state, a long sword shining with platinum light embedded in his chest. Impossible! My scales are harder than diamonds. How could a human break through them? Gyako's voice was hoarse, his eyes filled with disbelief. Arthur stepped out of the mountain forest, casting a cold glance at the struggling Gyako. He lightly tapped his fingertips, and 2 incantations instantly unfolded. Gyako, who had been roaring moments ago, was pressed down as if by immense weight, lying prostrate on the ground, unable to move. Kaigaku, who had just regenerated his lower body, also lost all power to resist again, slumping like mud. Arthur looked down at the 2 miserable demons on the ground, his eyes cold, then unceremoniously kicked Kaigaku. As a demon slayer, you actually defected to a demon and even led him to the headquarters. You truly deserve to die. Ugh. Ugh. Kaigaku's head futilely wriggled in the dirt, making indistinct sounds from his throat, seemingly trying to explain or beg for mercy. Perhaps it was a plea for mercy, or perhaps a final curse, but Arthur had no interest in listening. He walked over to Gyako, squatted down, and his sharp gaze locked onto the clear inscription in the demon's eyes. Upper rank 5, huh? No wonder he's so slippery. Gyako, prostrate on the ground, twisted his neck at a horrifying angle, his eyes fixed on Arthur, his voice icy cold. Hand over the blue spider lily, or not a single soul in the Demon Slayer Corps will be spared. Arthur's lips curved into a cold, sharp arc, and he sneered. Quite a big mouth. Is Musankabutsuji speaking now? It seems your control is stronger this time than last. Is your main body perhaps heading this way? On Gyako's face, contorted in pain, a sinister grin belonging to Musankabutsuji was forced out. Since you've already guessed, then obediently accept your fate and surrender. Hand over the blue spider lily. Perhaps I'll be merciful and spare your lowly lives. You're the one who should accept his fate. Arthur's eyes gleamed with a cold light, staring at Gyako with a half-smile, as if seeing through the demon's body before him and locking onto the demon king who always hid his true self. The blue spider lily only blooms during the day, and its flowering period is extremely short. Besides the one I'm keeping, you'll never find a second one. Also, do you think your speed at killing people is faster, or my speed at crushing the blue spider lily? At these words, the sinister grin on Gyako's face instantly froze. Through this crippled body, Muzan Kibutsuji's meager brain circuits in the distance overloaded, falling into a true dilemma for the first time. Should he risk going to the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters himself? Or should he settle for the next best thing, using the countless lives of the Red Light District as bargaining chips? Stay put. In 2 weeks I'll bring the Blue Spider Lily and visit you at Mount Natagumo. Hearing Arthur bring up the old agreement again, Muzan Kibutsuji, through Gyako's mouth, roared furiously. How do I know you'll actually keep your promise, if you don't lump me in with trash like you? Arthur's tone was calm, yet it stated the cruelest truth to Muzan Kibutsuji. Besides, you have no choice. Repeatedly rebuffed, Muzan Kibutsuji was filled with rage, and through Gyako's vision, he deeply etched Arthur into his memory. Don't think you've already won. We'll see. Before he finished speaking, Gyako and Kaigaku's abdomens suddenly swelled, like blood-filled sacks about to burst. Arthur's gaze sharpened, and he lightly tapped the ground with his foot, rapidly retreating. Boom! Amidst a deafening roar, flesh and blood flew, and mud and stones splattered. The shockwave rolled directly into the mountain forest, startling countless circling Kasugai crows. It wasn't until the two demonic presences completely dissipated that Tamayo, who had been hidden in the shadows, swiftly emerged from behind a tree. Are you all right, Arthur-san? What should we do next? Arthur calmly walked back to the edge of the crater formed by the explosion, skillfully collected blood samples from Gyako and Kaigaku, and after sealing them, tossed them to Tamayo. I'm sorry, Tamayo-san. It seems you'll have to return to the laboratory alone tonight. Although the possibility of Muzan Kibutsuji making a desperate all-out attack on the headquarters is small, I must go back and let Ubuyashiki and the Hashira prepare early. Tamayo nodded slightly, carefully putting away the 2 blood samples. Understood. If there's any unusual activity, please send a crow to inform me immediately. She didn't delay further, turning and rushing towards the laboratory, her figure quickly disappearing into the night. Arthur watched her leave, then turned back to look at the headquarters, where the lights were gradually coming on, and sighed softly. So why did I agree to Ubuyashiki? Wasn't this a good opportunity to complete the mission? The night deepened, and the moon was high in the sky. At the Demon Slayer Corps headquarters, lights blazed, and all the Hashira and the Master, Kagaya Ubuyashiki, had gathered. After listening to Arthur's explanation, Obanai Iguro's heterochromatic snake eyes suddenly narrowed, and his chilling killing intent almost solidified. What is the name of that renegade who betrayed the Demon Slayer Corps and sided with a demon? Obanai's voice was hoarse and cold, not hiding his disgust in the slightest. Perhaps he has accomplices. We cannot be careless. Arthur shook his head. I don't know. I didn't have time to interrogate him. Short black hair, thick eyebrows, and wearing a Magatama pendant? Those are the only features. Upon hearing this, all the Hashira lowered their heads in thought, searching their minds for members who matched these features, but, for a moment, they had no clue. Kagaya Ubuyashiki's gentle voice broke the silence. He raised his hand, gesturing. Everyone is at a critical moment in their special training. This matter should not be handled with a big fuss, lest we alert the enemy. I will personally handle the investigation. The Hashira naturally had no objection to this. Arthur glanced at Kagaya Ubuyashiki, then nodded in agreement. I can feel that Muzan Kibutsuji's final threat was not a bluff. Is there anything happening at Mount Natagumo recently? Kagaya Ubuyashiki's tone was certain. Everything is as usual. Members of the Kakushi have been deployed in that vicinity for a long time and have not found any signs of demon activity. Arthur lightly tapped his chin with his index finger, muttering softly. No signs of any demons. Even if Muzan Kibutsuji is cowardly and incompetent, he would still send subordinates to gather intelligence. Having no signs at all right now might not necessarily be a good thing. Kagaya Ubuyashiki's gaze slightly narrowed, clearly understanding Arthur's implied meaning, and he nodded. I will send more personnel and have the Kakushi expand their search area, paying attention to any suspicious rumors in various places. It's late, and everyone has been working hard with the special training for days. You should all go back and rest. 24. The night is at its peak. It means the dawn is approaching. Chapter 24. The night is at its peak. It means the dawn is coming. Time flew by like an arrow. 10 days passed in a flash, and the Demon Slayer Corps members were immersed in their training. Following Gyomei Himejima, 3 more Hashira successfully comprehended the mysteries of the transparent world. They were Iguro Obanai, the Serpent Hashira, Tokido Muichiro, the Mist Hashira, and Uzui Tengen, the Sound Hashira, who made another breakthrough with his unique musical score technique. With not much time left for special training, the Hashira who hadn't broken through couldn't hide their disappointment. On the edge of the training ground, Arthur observed the Hashira who were still engaged in high-intensity training, shaking his head helplessly. He had taught them everything he knew. The threshold of the transparent world ultimately came down to talent, something not to be influenced by external forces. Arthur knew very well that this was the limit for the Hashira, unless the ancient texts of the Ubuyashiki clan mentioned that when a swordsman cultivated their breathing technique to its extreme, a powerful, uncontrollable force would surge within their body, known as the mark. Once the mark was activated, physical functions would receive a terrifying boost, and both strength and speed could rival an upper-rank demon. However, activating the mark was equivalent to burning all remaining potential. Once activated, it could not be deactivated. Among the first-generation breathing technique swordsmen, none who activated the mark lived past 25. With this thought, Arthur secretly shook his head, burying this heavy information deep in his heart. This was already the best possible situation. Even if some failed to activate the transparent world, the month-long arduous training had significantly improved their strength. Besides, slaying Muzan Kibutsuji was his mission. There was no need for others to sacrifice their future. Caw! Urgent message! Urgent message! Emergency! Commander, Hashira-level swordsman. Return to headquarters immediately! The urgent message from the Kasugai Crow made the Hashira stop their training, looking towards the sky with various expressions. Emergency? Wasn't it just that the special training period had ended? Demon Slayer Corps headquarters. As Arthur and the Hashira arrived, they saw Kagaya Ubuyashiki sitting solemnly in the courtyard. Sensing their presence, his grayish-white eyes slowly turned, his voice a little hoarse. A report from the Kakushi states that Muzan Kibutsuji has appeared in the red light district, is entrenched there, and... Kagaya Ubuyashiki's face showed bitterness, his words difficult. Numerous demons have completely taken control of the area around the red light district, holding hostages, demanding we exchange them for the blue spider lily. If this matter is not resolved quickly, it may alarm those above. Arthur frowned. Such a large-scale operation, has that guy been blinded by the so-called eternal life? He couldn't understand Muzan Kibutsuji's desperate madness. After lurking for 1,000 years, seeing the dawn of eternal life, has he completely lost his mind? Even if he obtained the blue spider lily through such means, what then? Demons indeed possessed tenacious vitality, and after overcoming the sun, they could roam day and night. But their physical strength couldn't even compare to refined steel, let alone the battlefield killing machines capable of turning the tide of war. Once the upper echelons were alerted, the ultimate creature, now smug and triumphant, would instantly become a guinea pig in a cold laboratory. Kagaya Kagaya Ubuyashiki sighed, shaking his head. The most pressing task is to first deal with Muzan Kibutsuji and rescue the innocent people in the red light district. Hearing this, Kyojuro Rengoku looked towards the sound Hashira on his left, asking in a deep voice. Uzui, I remember you mentioned before that you had arranged for your wives to infiltrate the red light district to investigate demon activity? Uzui Tengen crossed his arms, nodding with a grim expression. There's no need to worry. As ninjas, we were already prepared for this. However, right now, I really want to personally twist off Muzan Kibutsuji's head. Iguro Obanai, beside him, spoke calmly, stating an even more severe reality. Our original deployment was at Mount Natagumo. A hasty change of location now is extremely disadvantageous for us. The Hashira looked worried upon hearing this, and Arthur and Kagaya Ubuyashiki exchanged a look in secret. Arthur then stepped to the center of the courtyard, his voice steady and powerful. The decisive battle with Muzan Kibutsuji has been brought forward. Next, I will explain the final battle plan. Everyone, listen carefully. Crimson Lotus, exclusive dividing line. 2 days later, as night fell, Arthur led the main force of the Demon Slayer Corps to the outskirts of the Red Light District. Looking out, the once brightly lit Red Light District was now swallowed by deathly darkness, devoid of any clamor. The night wind brushed across their faces, and the air was filled with a suffocating, murderous aura. Kocho Shinobu took out her pocket watch. The hour hand pointed to 10:42. The situation inside the Red Light District is unclear. Venturing in rashly at night is too dangerous. I suggest we wait until tomorrow morning to act. The Hashira nodded, agreeing with Kocho Shinobu's caution. Night battles were inherently disadvantageous for humans, and the Demon King, even if beheaded, wouldn't die. Rushing in would indeed be a near certain death. Arthur shook his head, lightly raising his fingertip, and a crimson magic bullet shot through the air towards a large tree not far away. Before the magic bullet arrived, a demon quickly darted out from the treetop, and after steadying itself, its cold gaze locked onto Arthur. I told you, don't think you already have a sure victory. The demon's aura was weak, but its voice was Muzan Kibutsuji's. The Demon Slayer Corps members instantly drew their swords, their killing intent palpable. Arthur heard the arrogance and self-importance in Muzan Kibutsuji's tone, and couldn't help but laugh dryly. You're the one who made a foolish move, now you're at your wit's end, and you can still be so confident? The demon sneered. Stop your empty talk, hand over the blue spider lily, otherwise. Otherwise, what can you do? Arthur pulled out the ethereal blue spider lily from his embrace, gently shaking it between his fingers, a playful smirk on his lips. Muzan Kibutsuji, I'll give you one last kind reminder. The one who needs it to prolong his miserable existence, dreaming of eternal life, is you, not me. Do you really think casually taking a few hostages can threaten me? How about this? I'll destroy this flower right now, and you make your move. Slaughter all those hostages. Let's see who cares more. Demon Shadow. Oh. While Muzan Kibutsuji's mind was reeling and his brain was crashing, Arthur loosened the specially made bag holding the blue spider lily, making a gesture as if to stomp on it. Yameru, stop it. The demon let out a piercing shriek, its voice even changing pitch. Calm down. Take your foot away. It wanted to rush forward to stop him, but was afraid of being instantly cut down by the Hashira, glaring around, completely cutting off any possibility of negotiation, so it paced anxiously. I understand. Let's both take a step back. I will release all the hostages right now. but you must personally come in and see me, and promise absolutely do not damage the blue spider lily. Seeing Muzan Kibutsuji repeatedly concede, the smile on Arthur's face grew more mocking. If you had known this, why did you do it in the first place? Going through all this trouble just to pick a better burial ground for yourself? Then let's see whose burial ground it will be. The demon's abdomen suddenly swelled, its venomous gaze fixed on Arthur. Cherish your remaining time, Demon Slayers. Next, I will completely bury the Demon Slayer core. Boom! A deafening explosion tore through the night sky, roaring in the ears of every swordsman like the trumpet of final battle, declaring dawn was coming. 0, comment 0, vote. 25. Matching you with equally matched stacks. Chapter 25 is matching you with equal stacks. The aftermath of the demon's self-destruction had not yet dissipated when members of the Kakushi and Kasugai Crows continuously brought back information. On the east side of the red light district, a large number of injured civilians successfully escaped, and the main force led by Uzui Tengen's 3 wives was among them. This news was undoubtedly a shot in the arm, relaxing the tense nerves of the Demon Slayer Corps members present. After all, not everyone could be like Arthur, who could calmly declare that he would fight with no regard for other people's lives. For the Demon Slayer Corps, fighting while bearing the lives of others was too heavy a burden. Arthur keenly noticed the reduction in the psychological pressure of the members. He turned around, his gaze sweeping over familiar and unfamiliar faces. Let me state this beforehand. I don't harbor the same deep-seated hatred for demons as you do. I am only here to complete a mission. But I acknowledge your courage and determination, and I hope that after this battle, I can meet you all again. Enough said. Let's go. As his words fell, Arthur suddenly turned back, his palms overflowing with golden dust, holding his platinum longsword in a reverse grip, and strode towards the depths of the red light district. Glang, glang, glang. The sound of Nichiren blades being drawn rang out in succession. The Demon Slayer Corps members all adjusted their breathing and followed closely behind Arthur, shooting into the enemy formation like arrows. Just as all figures disappeared into the red light district, a demon lurking in the shadows, constantly monitoring the battlefield, lightly plucked a string. Thrum. In an instant, the world inverted, and heaven and earth flipped. Within the crisscrossing Infinity Castle, Arthur stood aloft, riding the wind, occupying the high ground. He observed intently as the surrounding buildings continuously disassembled and reassembled like building blocks, their arrangement bizarrely disordered and chaotic. A space-type blood demon art? It seems this place is entirely under their control. No wonder that guy bothered to choose another battlefield. Arthur's eyes narrowed slightly. He no longer circled, his body sank, and he landed steadily on a tatami mat. He wanted to see what kind of opponent Muzan Kibutsuji would match him with. At the same time, the Demon Slayer Corps members were scattered throughout. Iguro Obanai weaved like a snake through the densely packed Japanese-style rooms, his sharp gaze swiftly scanning the interior furnishings. A woman's room, decorated with extreme luxury. Crack. The loud crash of shattering doors and windows suddenly seized Iguro Obanai's attention. The next instant, he saw Konroji Mitsuri, wielding her unique soft Nichiren blade, launching a fierce, storm-like pursuit against Daki. Serpent-breathing, fifth form, slithering serpent. Without a moment's hesitation, Iguro Obanai instinctively struck out fiercely. This move was the most powerful thrusting technique in serpent breathing, and with a single strike, it cleanly severed Daki's head. Namu Amida Butsu. I have always deeply lamented the fate of you sisters. It seems today is my salvation. Duma, carrots. Is this my tribulation? As the Hashira battled, deeper within the Infinity Castle, the true killing game was just beginning to unfold.